it's Coach Tori, and this is Raising Runners. We will be talking about running, mental health, youth sport burnout, specialization in sports, motivation, encouragement, coaching, parenting, sleep, nutrition, really anything that you can think of that we as parents or coaches or just runners can do to help our young athletes. Today, I get to talk with Coach Julia about all things running. She is a high school cross country coach and a middle school coach and a track coach. So we really just talk about her experience as a coach, her experience working with coaches, and her experiences as a runner in the past and as a runner currently. She is training for some fun events coming up, so that's exciting to talk about as well. It just felt really timely as everyone is getting back to school. Cross-country season is probably underway for a lot of people. We start our cross-country season in about 12 days. So all just felt really relevant. Just a nice conversation to talk about training and supporting young athletes. So really fun that way. She also is a registered dietitian, so she talks a little bit about that and just also kind of balancing her knowledge there with her role as a coach. So enjoy. So I guess if you want to start by just telling us who you are, and you and I actually are going to talk mostly running. I feel like I haven't had a podcast that's been mostly running lately. So that'll be super fun. So if you want to talk about, I'm imagining you are a runner since you coach running, but if you want to talk about like how you got into running, kind of what that looked like for you, and then I'm sure that'll lead us to where you are now.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name's Julia. I am a runner. I started running my junior year of high school. We didn't have a track or cross country team until my sophomore year. I didn't start running until junior year. I didn't do sports. I was not athletic. I was just a regular kid who didn't play any sports. But I started running and I was pretty good at it. Good for my school. So like I would beat my like PRs every week and would get like the school record because there wasn't any other school records because we were the first class to do it. So I ran for 2 years. I went to Ohio University. I ran there for a year. It just wasn't a good fit for me. So I stopped running like basically completely in college. One of my friends went to Ohio State and she randomly was like, hey, do you want to do a half marathon? I was like 21, didn't train, ran a half marathon, and it was great. I was like, wait, I actually love this. So I got back into running, did a few half marathons. I did a full marathon in like 2018. And at that time I had reconnected with my high school cross country coach, just kind of randomly. He knew I was going back to school to be a dietitian. And I also ran myself. So he told me at that point that he was looking for an assistant coach, which was not anything I'd ever thought about, like at all. So I tried it out. I loved it, became instantly obsessed with it. This is my 5th year doing it. It's my favorite thing that I've ever done. Working with those kids. I've never worked with high schoolers before in my life. Like I never thought that would be something I'd like to do, but teaching them not only how to run, but just like going through their daily lives, like teaching them lessons about a lot of different things and just like building relationships with these kids has been amazing. I also continue to run. They definitely motivate me to run. I ran Chicago Marathon last year and I kept telling them like they were my training partners like the whole entire time. Because it was in October, like it's right towards the end of cross country season. So that's kind of like where I'm at with running and coaching. Season starts on Monday, so we're getting back into it. We ran a 5K yesterday just for like the last summer event, but that's kind of my story and how I got into running.
What made you, if you can even think back to when you were in high school, what made you decide to do track or cross country? You just were like, oh, we have a team, might as well.
So the summer before it started, there was like a summer track club and my parents just signed me up for it, which was kind of unlike them. I'm not really sure why they did that, but they just signed me up for it. I ran distance and I was like I could run and it was easy for me and I enjoyed it. So that was just kind of just random that it happened, but I really did enjoy it and I was pretty decent at it. And I had fun. So that was, how it started, summer track club.
Well, that's what I was just about to ask. Well, I was going to ask if it was easy to get started, but then I was just thinking how you said you did a half marathon completely untrained and was fine. So I'm like, I'm sure it's just one of those things where you naturally just are like distance running and good. Um, in college. So, I mean, I totally get that going from high school to college can be such a shock on so many levels, not even just like the sports aspect of it, but everything else. Um, was there a reason that you can like pinpoint as to why you stopped running then? Or was it just kind of like you were too burnt out, you just couldn't do it?
I don't think I was prepared for like running. OU as a Division I school. I don't think I was prepared to do that. I went to the college for the college, not for running. I was just a walk on. And I just wasn't like mentally prepared. I only had 2 years in high school and it was just starting in high school. So like our coaches, they were great, but they were new too. Like everything was new. I didn't have the experience throughout high school to prepare me, I don't think, for college. And I don't think I was mentally ready to do college athletics. But I also think it was a blessing in disguise because I think I didn't get burnt out after college. A lot of the girls I ran with in college don't run anymore at all. I'm probably one of the few girls that I know that continue to run. So I think that it was a blessing in disguise. But yeah, I just don't think I was ready physically or mentally to run in college. And I think it worked out.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like the path that you took worked out perfectly fine for you. So your high school running coach, it sounds like was a positive relationship because now you know, went back to
Yeah.
work with him, right?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about his coaching style or, you know, what really, like, again, I'm assuming it was positive, but, like what kinds of things as a coach that he did that really like helped you as a runner, but then also like made you still want to come back and work with him then in a different capacity?
Right. So I guess my first year, he wasn't my coach. We had a coach who he really only paid attention to the girls that were the best and the guys who were the best on the team. And the rest of the team was kind of just like ignored, forgotten about, or that's at least how it looked or felt like as a junior in high school. This coach that I had, who I coach with now, paid attention to every single kid, made a relationship with every single kid. He has like specific training plans, like paces for every single kid on the team. And you can tell he truly cares about everyone. And I think that that is what brought me back. I would email him like whenever I was training for races, like as an adult, and he would still be like, these are like training plan ideas. Like he's never run a half marathon or full marathon, but like this is pacing, this is what you should be doing. Like if you feel like this, I'm sure you're fine. So I think that that's what it was. It's just caring about the individual kids and people as people before runners, I guess.
And I know sometimes it can be hard to evaluate yourself or even see yourself how others do. So I'm knowing that I'm still going to ask you to do it anyway. What qualities do you think you have as a coach that are similar to his, or what do you think you have different, or that like, you know, kind of brings to be like, I don't know, a good mix of coaching?
Yeah. So he's still kind of a little bit more, he's less emotional than I am, I guess. I definitely, especially with the girls team, when they're upset or when something's going on, I will talk to them if they want to talk to me, and I will try to help them feel better. I think I have a little bit more of emotions in play with the girls, especially. I think that's definitely a main difference. Other than that, we both try to get to know the kids individually. We do both try to teach them and show them that we are there for them as people before runners, like I mentioned before. But yeah, it is hard to think about yourself like that. And I think so. I told you earlier that we had a run yesterday at 5K, and one of the seniors had just graduated, and she like wrote me a card, and one of the things she wrote in there was just how important it was that I was there to talk to her about like whether it was her daily life things or it was running. It was all of the above that she's going to miss, like having this conversation, which I think is something that I probably do a little bit more than the head coach does, but it is something that I enjoy doing, and I do hope that it has a positive impact on those athletes.
Well, and I mean, it's fun, not even funny to think, but because it seems so obvious, but everyone I talk to who's runners now, who reflects back on coaches they had, or I've talked to a couple of therapists about like, how can we as coaches be better? Right. And the thing everybody seems to say is like, make every kid feel important, but like also that has to be genuine, right? It's not just like you trying to make everyone feel like they matter, but like they have to really matter to you. Right. So like it's weird that sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, like everyone seems to say that, but it's like, obviously like that, of course people want to feel important and they want it to be genuine, like, and those are the people that are going to impact them. So this is just like another funny, but like obvious reason, answer to like, yes, that is what people want.
Yeah, it is. And I did not think that when I started coaching that I would make connections or like relationships with these kids, like, and talk to them about their daily lives and be there for them when they're upset about something, whether it's running, because a lot of times it is running related, but also like their daily lives. And even just like they know a lot about my life as well. Like I tell them about things and they build those connections. Yeah, I never thought, but you are right. Yeah, those genuine connections definitely make a difference. And they definitely trust you more as a coach if they have those connections with you.
Yeah. So kind of going along with like that relationship building and rapport building, can you talk a little bit? Because you did an awesome job when you responded to my like request for interviews of like breaking down a lot of the things I was saying I wanted to talk about. So I'm like, oh, now I have these great notes for questions today. But going with that and talking about motivation, because I think a lot of helping people get motivated is being able to know them and know what they're working for. But can you talk a little bit about how you help motivate those runners? I saw in your answer, you said like usually at that age, they are a little more motivated, like internally. So can you talk a little bit about that? But then also if you have any suggestions for younger runners, like as they're coming up, because I know I have a lot of young runners and I sometimes struggle with the fact that they just do not want to run sometimes. So motivating them can be hard, but I guess talk about your kids first. And then if you have any suggestions.
Yeah, of course. I think they are self-motivated, but a lot of times if they run for each other, if they really buy in that they are running as a team, because cross country, it is a team sport. Even though it is kind of individual, it is a team sport. If they realize that they are running for each other, which my girls, they won the state championship in 2019. And that was the year that they definitely were running for each other. We had one girl in particular who she lost her shoe within the first 200 meters. And which is probably like not the worst thing, but it wasn't great. But another girl stepped up, and they were truly, truly running for each other that whole entire season. So realizing that it is a team and that you are there, like working together, I definitely think that helps with motivation for sure. Because then they aren't always racing each other. It's fluid. Whoever's going to be first through seventh or first through whatever on the team, it can always change. And once they realize that that doesn't matter as much, it's just more as a team, how they can do well together, and they have these goals and they reach those goals. And I mean, I like the goals to be realistic, but we do have them write down what their goals are as a team in the beginning of the season. They do it in May for the season that's going to start in August, and they work towards those goals all year. And it really does work out. And I think it does help with what they're doing. They've won their district a few times. We did just move up to a bigger district, so it's a little bit more difficult, but then there's just new goals that they have to achieve. So I think that definitely helps with motivation. I also help out with the middle school track, so I understand lack of motivation with them a little bit more, especially when the distance runners are usually a little bit more motivated, but I help out with hurdles and things like that as well. And I think with that, it's just showing them what the opportunities are as a high schooler, like what they can build up to. I do think, and I do see this in my high school too, sometimes high schoolers, they're more likely to be motivated if they're doing it because they want to and not because their parents are making them do it. That happens a lot where they don't want to be there. And who wants to run all these miles if you don't want to be there? It's not fun. It's not fun for anybody. So having it turn into something that they want to do instead of something that they have to do. They get to run instead of that they have to run. So it's just showing them what it can be, what's possible. And just especially the middle schoolers, just celebrating every victory. Not every race can be a PR, which is hard for the middle schoolers at least to understand. They don't always get that, but still showing them what they're doing, that they're making improvements, that they did something better this race, that maybe they got out of the blocks faster this race, maybe they finished really well this race. Just paying attention to those little things and working with them on that and showing them that you're watching that and that you're proud of them.
Sorry, I had muted myself because I wanted a drink and then I couldn't find my mouse again to unmute fast enough.
Yeah, okay.
So especially talking about the high schoolers, because I think talking about them I think someone who never did a team / individual sport like cross country doesn't understand that interesting dynamic of like, you are running for yourself, but you are running for a team. But I think at least when I ran cross country, there was lots of strong personalities. And I think sometimes we were like, our coach was amazing and super helpful, but like also we had like the captains were very strong-willed and really like carried out his mission. But then there was others that like they, needed to shape up and, those kinds of things. But how do you help balance like all the personalities? And I mean, it sounds like you had a really nice team that like really wanted to work together, but do you ever have those moments where like you kind of have to be like, guys, you are a team, you're working together, like whatever this nonsense is, like knock it off?
Yeah, for sure. We actually don't have captains. So we had captains when I was younger, and it did. I don't know if that's what caused issues, but there was definitely issues with it. So it's kind of just been like whoever is going to be the leader, they have been stepping up. And in the 5 years I've been here, it's been fine. But no, there's definitely times where it is, especially if there's like any negative energy. I just try to keep everything as positive as I can and try to turn around any negative energy. But it does happen. It hasn't happened in my 5 years like as it was worse when I was in high school, I feel like, than what it is right now, fortunately. The girls get along and the guys, they all get along pretty well, but just constantly explaining to them that they're here for common ground, and just being that support whenever I can be. And then also encouraging the leaders on the team to promote like a positive attitude. I think that that is important. You can recognize who the leaders are, even if they aren't necessarily the captains, and just constantly promoting a positive attitude. And then I also talk with them because I run with them like on their long runs and things, and just let them know how important they are to the younger girls and how like everything they say the younger girls are going to listen to. Like they're going to listen to me, but they're going to listen to the other girls on the team also, and probably even more. So I do try to work with the seniors or the older girls, especially like in the beginning of the season, and just being like, hey, like these younger girls, like they really, really look up to you, and they really want to have a strong leader in you, and they will follow what you're doing. So if you're having a positive attitude, if you're coming at this like with good intentions and everything like that, these younger girls are more than likely going to follow you. And then eventually those younger girls are going to be the leader. So that will continue on.
Do you know if it was a conscious choice to get rid of captains? Like if there was a reason, or it's not like that happened before you joined the team?
I don't.
Coach.
So when I was a kid, there was some things that happened. It was just like typical drama. They actually got rid of captains when I was in school because it was very unnecessary high school drama. That it didn't really have to do with being captains, but there was girls that didn't get along on the team, and one was a captain and one was not. But I think since then, it's just, there hasn't been a need for it. And it's always been okay. It's always been fine. And it also works out because when you think of a captain, it's typically thought of like the number one girl on the team. But the number one girl of the team isn't necessarily going to be the leader. We have leaders, especially like right now, like there's girls who are on our JV team who are leaders of this team. So even though they aren't necessarily captain, other girls are going to follow them, and they are the leader. They do know what's going on. They pay attention. They are going to be on time to the meets. They're going to be ready, prepared, warming up at their appropriate time. And they just do it on their own. And so I don't know exactly why it got taken away. I don't know if it got brought back after I was in high school, but there's been no issue with not having captains. So I think it's something that we're going to stick with until we need to change.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't sure if there was like any more reason behind it. Kind of switching gears a little bit. Mm-hmm. So your team sounds like it's a pretty good high school team, winning states, districts. Can you talk a little bit about what the training looks like? If you guys like what kind of accessory work you guys do, if there's any of that. And then also just like as a coach, trying to balance like pushing your athletes, but maybe you're not worrying about overtraining because you have a good program, but like any of those kinds of like what the training looks like, and then any kind of things you have to work with that way.
Yeah. So the head coach takes care of a lot of the training, but we do have different like mileage per week for freshmen, for first year, second year, third year, fourth year running. We try to promote, especially, and I really do believe in this a lot, is rest days are super important, taking it easy. On your easy days, you should be running easy. We do tempos, we do track workouts, I don't think we do anything out of the ordinary. It's pretty typical cross country high school coaching. I do think though, like I am a dietitian, so I am super focused on making sure they're eating enough. That is something that I'm super passionate about. I would rather them eat something that's quote unquote unhealthy. Like I'd rather them eat candy than not eat anything at all. So I am constantly just trying to encourage them to eat before practice, after practice, before meets, after meets, whenever. They are burning so much energy out there. They're burning so much energy just being high schoolers, let alone all the activities they're doing. So that's something I really try to focus on, is that. And I try to tell them to go to sleep early, which is not easy. They don't like to sleep, but that is something I do really think that rest, and I think that not overtraining is important. And just having the kids like communicate with us. Like if they do feel like something feels off that day, like go see your trainer, like go ride the bike for a day. It's not going to kill you to take a day off. It could be more beneficial than overtraining. Especially with the girls, I do try to make talking about their periods not uncomfortable. Like if they are missing their periods, like talk to me about that. It's like that's a huge sign of overtraining, and that's something that we want to avoid. So that's, yeah, we try to avoid overtraining. I definitely try to. I don't want, because I know that a lot of it can be because of disordered eating, and I know that happens a lot in runners, and that's something that I try to avoid at all costs.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was one of the next things I wanted to get into, because I know you're a dietitian. Can you talk a little more about, especially because you're a coach and you can be so close to the kids, but I know you mentioned like you try to tell them like, if I'd rather eat candy than not eat anything, and like really trying to help them fuel themselves. But are there tips that you give them in terms of like fueling and nutrition? And then also, I guess I have this horrible habit of like, I get so excited, I ask like 5 questions, and I'm working on it. So first question is, can you tell us like kind of how you talk to them about nutrition and some tips maybe that you have, especially because like you said, as teenagers, they just are hungry and like burning off so much all the time too.
Yeah. So I think I just focus on making sure that they're eating. I do try to focus on breakfast a lot because of the morning, like invitationals are in the morning. We do long runs in the morning. So I send them out. I make little infographics like on Canva, and I send them out, and I think they actually read them, because we had a 5K yesterday and it was at 7:00 at night. Like this is just an example. So I gave them like a whole, like not meal plan, but I told them like eat breakfast at your normal time, lunch at normal time, try to eat dinner at like 4 or 4:30. And I gave examples like eat pasta or like rice and chicken, and then eat something like an hour before the 7:00 race. So, and then the one girl was like, I took a screenshot of that and sent it to my mom, and this is what she made me. So those kinds of things is what I try to make it as simple as possible. Like I don't want to tell them exactly what to eat, but I do give them examples. And if they do ask me, I will tell them like you should eat like an easy to digest carb like right before your race. Also, I explained to them that every kid's different, like every person's different. Some people might need to eat something that's liquid or drink like Gatorade to get the calories in before, while some people can eat something. But I try to not, like, no foods are off limits, but these are the foods that you should avoid like before you're running, because it might upset your stomach. Or if they are having issues, like I'll try to talk to them like, what did you eat before this? Like, what did you eat today? What are you typically eating before you run? Like, when do you feel okay? When do you not? So yeah, I mean, a lot of it is focused on easy to digest carbohydrates. When they're going to meet, making sure that they bring snacks with them. That's something that I emphasize a lot. Like whether it's fruit, a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly sandwich is a great go-to that I recommend a lot. But just making sure they're eating. They don't eat enough. I know that they don't, and they don't eat before practice because they have an hour between school and practice, and they're too busy hanging out with their friends and being teenagers. But I try to just remind them to eat in between practice, and then eat after practice as well. So I just tell them to eat all the time.
I mean, it doesn't sound like bad advice, right? I'm like picturing me as a high schooler, and I think like my mom used to just put any leftovers in like mason jars and freeze them. And we would have dinner. And then I think like an hour later, I would be back like trying to heat something else up because I was just constantly hungry.
Mm-hmm.
But so with that you mentioned like disordered eating as well. So, and I'm sure as a dietitian, you see a lot of those things and you look at it through that lens, but then as a coach, you have like a different perspective a little bit because you are also really close to these athletes too. So, how do you, as both of those things, how would you approach an athlete, or like, how can you, like I said, what would you look for if you think someone is having, struggles with their eating? But then also like, how do you approach that? Because I know it can be a really delicate thing of like, the way you bring it up can make things worse and, all of that.
No, for sure. It definitely is a difficult situation. Things I look for is just the way they talk about food. Whether they say like, oh, I can't eat that, or like, I can't eat, there is kids who are say like, oh, my mom like says that like I can't eat this before, which maybe isn't disordered eating, but also just it's hard to tell, but it is a lot of the time just like the way they talk about things. If they have a stress fracture, if they have like a serious injury, a lot of the times, not a lot of times, but that is something that I would think of first. I've had kids who have like passed out during runs, and that's definitely like, that's not something that should be happening. Or if they like don't feel good after a run when you know that they've been okay in the past. It is a delicate situation. If this is something that I think of, I typically will go to the athletic trainer, and then have a conversation with the child's parents. And then I won't be their dietitian at that point. Like, they will go to their pediatrician, and their pediatrician will recommend a dietitian for them. And then I try to not think too much about it, but it stresses me out a lot. I do get anxious about it. I do get concerned about it. I don't think I've experienced it too many times, but there have been a few kids that I know that there's been something off, but I don't know how serious it is. But I do remove myself once it is like in the hands of their pediatrician, because I don't think I can be their coach and their dietitian. I can give them like general tips, but not like that serious.
I guess that's what I meant to also, because again, as you can tell, my questions start to get all long-winded, but yeah, so that's what I was also trying to ask you, like, that must be hard to be a dietitian and have all this information, but in that aspect, you are their coach. So I'm glad you pointed out like all of the nuances of that, because that's what I was actually trying to get at too. And I was like, I clearly didn't set that question up that well.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, I mean, that's kind of all the questions I really had for you. I'm sure I could think of more if I gave myself like 3 seconds to think, because I love talking track and field and running. Oh, are you training for anything now? I don't remember if you said that or not.
I'm not right now. I was thinking of doing the Philadelphia Marathon, but I have not fully committed to doing that yet. I just got engaged, so now my whole entire life is like wedding planning, and I'm like, I don't know if I can actually commit to training for a marathon right now, but I would like to. I live in Pittsburgh, so I might do the Pittsburgh Marathon in May. I like that one. It's a good time, so I might wait for that. But no, right now I'm not training for anything, unfortunately, but I plan to.
Do you have a favorite race that you ever ran?
Oh, that's a good question. I ran the Chicago Marathon. I did love that. And it was it was last year, so 2021. So it was, I think, the first race I ran after COVID. And it was really cool to just like be around all those people again, and like the crowds and everything like that. And the course was really flat. It was a really hot day. It was like 82 degrees. So that wasn't ideal, but it was still fine. I love the Pittsburgh Marathon. That was the first marathon I ran. I've run that half marathon probably like 10 times. So that's probably my favorite, that one in Chicago.
And now, less fun of a question, maybe. Do you have a least favorite race or like a worst race, but you still learned something?
Oh, this is what I ask my kids all the time. What did you learn from your race? What did you learn that you didn't like? I ran a trail half. So when I was training for my second marathon, I ran a half marathon like on a trail, and I really was looking to like PR because I thought it would be flat. But it was not great. I think I learned from that one is to not go out too fast, which I've learned multiple times, but not go out too fast, and to always, to listen to your body even early on. even yesterday I ran a 5K with the kids and I am not in shape at all. And this is something I tell them all the time, is like to be confident. And I was not confident. I went into that being like, I'm going to run so slow, but I ended up running like a decent time, and just reminding myself that I can do it and that confidence is important. So
Yeah, no, I always admire people. So my cross country coach and track coach, when I was in high school, he would always run with the fast girls. And I thought it was so, because he was like in his 40s probably at the time, and he still ran with them. And, it's just like, that's such a great approach to coaching too, is like, you're out with your athletes, you're showing them you can do it just like they can, right? Like, I mean, there's just so many benefits. You're also getting to like, I mean, I'm sure like everybody censors their conversations a little bit when the coach is around, but like, you're still a part of like hearing their dynamics and all those things. So I think it's awesome that you run with the team. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, even like yesterday, there was a few kids who they were at the 5K, but they weren't running, so they were injured or whatever, and they were like cheering us on, and they were like cheering me on, and it was fun. But yeah, it is fun to run with them. I enjoy it. So I'll do like the long runs with them, which is like they'll run for up to 10 miles. So it's a lot of time, but it is fun. And they definitely pay attention. Like when I ran the marathon last year during the season, like they were super excited about it. And they were like sending me pictures like beforehand of themselves with like signs that they made and things like that. And just to like, they think it is like motivating to them. I think that like their coach is out there able to run 26.2 miles. So it is cool. It is cool to see that they are motivated by it.
Yeah, no, I think that's so awesome. Well, obviously we can't like find you as a track coach, us everywhere else, but as a dietitian, do you do anything virtually? Like if anybody had questions about anything like that?
Yeah, so I do have like an Instagram running on Cupcakes, and I have a blog website, which is juliadenisenrd.com. So right now I'm just doing like free content on the Instagram and on the blog, but yeah, feel free to reach out. I like connecting with anyone, so please reach out.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure I link your website and your Instagram.
Okay.
And so for any dietitian questions and things, reach out, but also I'm sure you would talk track with people or cross country if they had questions.
Yes, I would love to. Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. This was really fun to get to just talk about track and running and cross country and all those things. So this was really awesome.
Yes, thank you so much.
I just want to thank Julia again for her time. That was such a fun conversation about running. As everybody knows, love when I get to talk to other runners about what they're up to and kind of their experience with running. It's just, we runners love to talk running. But good luck in your upcoming race. That's also super exciting. And good luck with your cross country season. Good luck to all of the young athletes. And I will have her website for her, dietitian information in the links, also her Instagram. So if you want to find her, those are two really good ways to get in touch with her. I hope you are all enjoying our interview series as well as the bonus episodes. We have had so many fun guests, lots of really great information. There's links in everything as we are at this point wrapping up the interview series. So I will be starting to make episodes and posts on social media with summaries of a lot of the information that we've talked about, also summaries of all of our free resources and paid resources and all those things. So make sure you're going to keep checking out the episodes. We will be going back to just Tuesdays in a couple of weeks. Also check out social media for all of the roundup of all the information. And we're going to be transitioning into some more focused episodes. So some of it will be solo episodes with just me talking about things that I really care about, but I also will have some really great guests, hopefully some repeat guests talking about, just more concentrated topics. So if there are any guests that you either yourself you would like to be on, or if you know of someone who has something really relevant and important to talk about, send them my way. Or if there are just topics that you think that we should delve into, please, please, please let me know. Any inquiries, questions, comments, make sure you're emailing me at marikeyrunclub@gmail.com. Thank thank you for tuning into Raising Runners. New episodes every Tuesday, and we are always looking to talk to people about running, mental health, or anything along the spectrum that can help our young athletes, or just talking to runners or parents and coaches of our young runners as well. Hopefully you find our resources helpful. If you have questions, comments, or anything else, feel free to email me at marikeyrunclub@gmail.com.